for anything to be classified as life, it should be able to replicate. It should be able to break into newer forms of life.
Got it.
I get bored very easily. So for me to put effort, I really need to be interested in it.
Right.
So for me, that was space. We want to make space accessible to everyone. I think
What are some of those planets that we are focusing on to look for life?
we know very little about how space affects us. I was part of a team that was designing a spacecraft that would fly to one of these icy moons.
What is astrobiology for
Yeah.
someone watching?
Yes.
Can you define what is astrobiology and what do astrobiologists do?
It's a field which is all about studying the origins of life.
Where does your imagination take you? Like,
Okay.
according to you,
Yes.
how did life come to be on this planet?
Life started, almost 3.5 to 3.6 billion years ago. The age of our own planet is like 4.6 billion years. So it's like a lot of time before. So our team has been looking at exploring the moon
Yeah.
and getting humans back to the moon. So much closer to Earth than all these faraway locations.
Yeah. NASA is very aspirational, right?
Yep.
So what is it like working there and somebody who's like preparing for it or like aiming for it?
Yep.
Can you talk about what they can be prepared about? Hey everyone, this is Shruti. Welcome to my podcast, I'm Just Curious, where I talk of all things I'm curious about with the people I'm curious about and how they turn their passion into their profession. Today on the podcast, I'm joined by Dr. Siddharth Pandey, an engineer turned astrobiologist, researcher and scientist who started his journey at the NASA Ames Research Center. He followed his curiosity to the far edges of science and space, combining science, engineering, and a deep desire to explore life beyond our planet. In this episode, we dive deep into everything from his exciting new venture Protoplanet, a platform that's opening the doors for people of all ages and backgrounds to participate in space research, to the real challenges of sending humans into space and what it would actually take to colonize another planet. It's a fascinating conversation about the future of humanity, innovation, and the power of inclusive exploration. Hi, Siddharth. How are you?
Good, Shruti. How are you?
Good. So for anyone watching, I think I want to give a little bit of context.
Sure.
That this was supposed to happen in Leh,
Yep.
this conversation.
Yep.
But given the current circumstances, we had to figure out a way to do it in Delhi finally.
Yes.
And so how are you feeling? How is everything?
I'm feeling very well. A little tired because we just had a conference that took place in Delhi here.
Okay.
We had astronauts, people from ISRO, European Space Agency, different parts of the world,
Okay.
talking about space exploration. And I was giving a couple of talks, so I'm a little worn out, but I'm really looking forward to this because we have been planning this for a few months now.
Yeah. And I'm I appreciate it, you
Yeah.
giving us the time despite your schedule and, everything that's going on. Sure. So let's start. I want to start like space is not a very conventional career, right? Space exploration, astrobiology that we will talk about, that the work that you do. So how did you get into it? Like did you always dream of that as a child? I want to like get into like space as a career or like, space exploration? Or was it like you stumbled upon it and talk to me about that story?
My story actually goes back to school. So I was, I think, a little bit fortunate that I was a little aware of space exploration
Okay.
during school. I wasn't a very good student.
Okay.
I was an average student at school. And I think it was a 9th standard physics teacher who I was actually probably making a joke in class and I wasn't very serious about
Right.
life.
Yeah.
And she was just going around asking people, what are you going to study? What are you going to do your summer project in? And I don't know, I just said something like aerodynamics or something just as a word. And she just basically looked at me and made a face.
Okay.
And the whole class laughed. And that, for some reason, I can blame my entire career to that one single event where I
It
heard
like
that.
hurt
it kind
your
of-
ego or
It kind of
something.
hurt my
Yeah.
14-year-old ego. And
Yeah.
then there was the incident where Kalpana Chawla passed away. It was all over the news.
Yeah.
And I think those kind of things leave like some effect on you. And then as you're kind of growing in your school and kind of getting through it,
Yeah.
I guess the earliest I can think of is at the age of 14 is when I thought about I wanted to do this.
Oh, okay. Nice. Interesting. And you pursued it like, diligently. Sometimes people give up and sometimes people are like, okay, it was just a thing
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
But so what made you like keep pursuing it? Like what was that one moment or one turning point where you were like, okay, I'm going to do this for life. Like I'm going to choose this as a career finally.
I get bored very easily. So for me to put effort, I really need to be interested in it.
Right.
So for me, that was space.
Okay.
I was really into it, and then I was like, there's nothing else that's keeping me up at night, and that's probably what has kept me on it.
Okay.
So I'm a very boring person that ways, actually.
Okay.
I don't really have a lot of other interests. Interests grow with age. Like now, of course, you understand what you like and dislike. But I think for the first few years of my life in the 20s, it was all just this because that's all I was interested in. And I just kept geeking out on it.
Right. It felt interesting because there was something new to look forward to or maybe explore every day, unlike other fields where the path is pretty laid out.
Yeah.
So
So I come from a naval household. My dad served in the Navy. And I think we all saw Top Gun growing up and, the macho fighter pilots. And as kids, you kind of aspire to get into those mean flying machines. And so I think it started with probably thinking about doing really cool things. The coolness of it really captures your imagination. And the coolness comes from the actual aircraft and the rockets and the technology. Then you focus your attention on the people who are in this, right?
Yeah.
So it's people like astronauts, and you've got Kalam. At that time, he was the president of the country, and he was a rocket scientist.
Yeah.
So how cool it was that a rocket scientist was leading the country. So there were all those kind of things that initially were what made me interested in it. But my understanding of what I love in this field also grew with time.
Right.
Like what I now respect about it is very different from what a 15-year-old or a 14-year-old myself would want it.
Your view of it has become more nuanced and more in depth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So basically, what is astrobiology for someone watching?
Yes.
Can you define what is astrobiology and what do astrobiologists do?
Okay, so it's a field which is all about studying the origins of life, like life as we know it, as humans, as animals, plants, like where did it start? So for example, on Earth, and the search for it in the universe. So could life have started on another planet? So that's the field of astrobiology.
Okay.
And it's a very interdisciplinary field. So it's not just biologists, it's not just engineers. You have people, because to understand these things, you have to study all different kinds of environments. You need different kinds of technologies to study them. So it brings in people from different walks of life.
Right.
So you've got engineers who are also astrobiologists.
Oh, okay.
You've got chemists who also classify themselves as astrobiologists. My background has been engineering. So I came in from that background.
Okay. That sounds pretty interesting, And so what do you like? How do you find out? Like, like you said that it's all about like how life originated and where life originated.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
Where does
Jump straight in, huh?
Yeah. Where does your imagination take you?
Okay.
Like, according to you,
Yes.
how did life come to be on this planet?
So there's different theories, and you have groups within the community who have different opinions. Some believe life actually started in water. Some believe life started on land, on Earth. Some actually believe that life actually did not start on Earth. It was brought from space. When you have those meteorites that come in and crash, they actually brought life from space. So there are all these different theories, and some are more popular than the others. And it all boils down to looking at the past.
Okay.
Because life started billions of years ago. Currently we know that life started, almost 3.5 to 3.6 billion years ago. The age of our own planet is like 4.6 billion years. So it's like a lot of time before. So it's all about studying rock records, understanding, the proof of, like looking at fossils and those kind of things on our own planet to understand what it might have been like. And the other very interesting thing about it is that we only know one form of life as we know it.
Okay.
The kind that survives on our planet. So when you're going around looking for something, you only understand. So for example, if you had to go look for an apple in a room, which is completely dark, like there's no light, okay?
Yeah.
And you're essentially just groping around with your hands and you can't see anything, right? And suddenly you find like a fruit on a table and you're just kind of trying to feel the texture. You can't see anything about it. And the only fruit you've ever seen is an apple.
Right.
And suppose you come across an orange. right? You're starting to feel, and it's like an orange, but you don't know what an orange is, right? You only know what an apple is.
Yeah.
So that's what looking for life is like.
Yeah.
We might be looking at something which we will classify as it's not life, but maybe it could have
it's
been part
life.
of life in some ways. So that's also what makes it interesting, that our pool of knowledge is very limited in terms of what life might be.
Right. And what exactly is that? What exactly do we consider life? And how do you think it can be different? Like you gave a very good example and analogy.
Yeah.
But can you like expand a little bit on that what exactly is our view of
Yes.
life?
So everything that's not life, like everything that's not biology, is mostly chemistry. It's mostly like just like chemicals or organic compounds. You normally
Okay.
look for organic compounds. For anything to be classified as life, it should be able to replicate. It should be able to break into newer forms of life.
Got it.
It should be able to. It needs energy, so it needs to have an energy source through which it's able to do
Right.
that. The definition of life is also very controversial. Like a lot
okay.
of people claim that they have discovered life. Like every year you'll find there's a new article that will come out that scientists, NASA scientists have discovered life on this planet, and then
yeah.
it just goes poof.
Yeah.
So why, after so many announcements, have we not confirmed whether life? Because it's very hard to confirm whether it exists or not.
Really, even when we know that how, like, we have a basic definition of it, like you said, something that replicates, something that has biology and chemistry and everything. Even then, we are not able to
Yes,
say with surety.
Because on our planet, if I had you, so you're from Gujarat, right? Like you're from Kutch,
Yeah,
as I
yeah.
know. If you were in Kutch, like if I had to just place you in Kutch, and you're in your salt flat, just imagine that full white expanse.
Yeah.
Okay. Now imagine yourself there, and you're trying to walk around and trying to prove whether life is there in that environment or not. So how would you do that? What would you use as tools, right? So you'll have a magnifying glass, for example.
Right.
You'll pick up something and you'll try to see, is there any fungus growing or is there any algae? So the first thing you do is you look at colors. You look at if
Okay.
there's any discoloration that's there. So nowadays, when you open our fridge, you take out a old, something.
Fruit or
There'll be
vegetable.
fungus on it.
Yeah.
And when you see like in bread, you'll see green, like mold forming.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
now we are accustomed as normal people to understand, okay, that's not natural. That's
Yeah.
something else growing on it, so which is life.
Yeah.
Similarly, on rocks, you find patches of these kind of lives that
Okay.
grow as well.
Interesting.
The reason why we haven't been able to confirm that is because we haven't ourselves been there. We are either looking at those locations, and we'll talk about what those locations are through telescopes, or we are sending robots, we're sending rovers, right?
Yeah.
So humans have only gone as far as the moon. We haven't gone to Mars. We haven't gone to other planets, exciting planets in our solar system where life might be there. Because as humans, we already have a lot of sensors. We've got eyes, we've got a brain that can analyze things. We've got hands where we can pick up things and look at it and, take out an instrument and do that. There you've got a rover. Rover has limited capability to, travel. With telescopes, you can only see so many things.
Right.
So the reason why we haven't been able to discover it is because our own limitations of how much we have explored.
Right. So, so the look and feel of it, only the way a human will
Yes.
be able to experience, a rover cannot experience it like that. So they might not be able to confirm or say with surety that
Yeah.
there is life. That's the
Yeah,
reason.
That's the reason. And what we have done is we have started systematically increasing our understanding. So the first rovers that were sent in the 70s, like for example to Mars, they were not designed very well.
Okay.
Because the experiments were finding things which we call false positives. So false positives, essentially you find something and you think it's true, but it's actually not true.
Okay.
Our understanding of the planet grew over many years. And then now the rovers that have gone, like NASA has sent some rovers, China has sent some rovers. These rovers are built on the understanding of the previous failures. So they are able to now better understand okay, we're not immediately looking for something that might be walking around, but we're looking for proof of whether in the past the conditions were right for life to have been walking around. So it's looking
Right.
for what we call past signatures of life.
Right.
So our exploration is now more structured, more systematic to start ruling things out. It's like a detective. Detective walking around, before he immediately guesses who the killer is, he starts ruling out who might not be the killer.
Yeah, the process of elimination.
Process of
basically.
elimination.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what is being systematically followed in this as well.
Right. What are some of those, things that we are focusing on, where we are like, okay, if this exists, we can confirm. If this exists, we can confirm. What are some of those things?
So one is when you make cake in a kitchen, and once the cake has been made, suppose your parent made a cake, and you came back from school, and then you walked in, and how would you know that there's cake that has been made there in the kitchen? What are the proofs? So one is smell, like there'll be some afterlying smell there.
Got it.
Space, there is no atmosphere, so smell doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You might find some crumbs of parts of the baking soda,
process. Yeah.
like the baking soda or your maida or butter lying around. So you'll find those kind of proofs, right? Then you'll think, looks like today there is butter here, there's a little bit of eggs here, there's this, that. I think cake was made here
Chances
today.
are that it could be, that it's a cake.
One is that proof. The other is you'll find either someone has left a plate in the sink where there's some leftover of the crumbs of the cake left. So you're like, acha, cake was made and it was also had. So what I've just pointed out are two kinds of clues. One is the part of the recipe that you're able to find. And the other is the remnants, the byproducts of after the cake has been made, which is the leftovers, crumbs in the plates. So looking for life is very similar. You're trying to look for the early parts of the recipe of what life really requires. So what are those products? Things like carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. These are the main basic elements that are required for our kind of life, life as we know it. So we look for those. We look for complex organic compounds. Organic compounds, anything with carbon and hydrogen in it, we look for that. So which means कि for life to have existed, these compounds are needed. Uske alawa, once life has formed, what are the leftovers? The byproducts of life that are formed. So we look for those, the crumbs in the sink.
And what are those byproducts?
Again, complex organic compounds.
Compounds, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as we understand, when we went from chemistry to biology is anything that does with things that move around, which is life.
Yeah.
Jab biology nahi exist karti thi, before that, everything was just chemistry.
Yeah.
So when biology was formed, whatever chemistry was around it is very relevant. So when we go to Mars, we look for the signs of the clues for if life had started, what is that chemistry that might have existed over here?
Interesting.
So those are the kind of things we look for. And we also look for the right environment that is needed for life. For example, water. On our planet, we have seen that wherever there's water, there is life. So whether you go to a river, you go to an ocean, you go to a pond, you'll always find some kind of life living around it.
Yeah.
So on Mars, we have found Mars used to have water on its surface.
Okay.
There were rivers flowing there. And now those rivers are dried up. There's no liquid water there. But the rivers have left like...
a trail.
Even in Kutch, for example, you'll find a lot of when Indus River, Sindhu River, when it used to flow through Kutch, now it has dried up and moved northwards into Pakistan, right?
Okay.
So in Kutch area also, you'll find ancient riverbeds where water used to flow. So it has formed the rocks, basically, affected the rocks.
Yeah.
So that water activity is something which we have seen on Mars. We have seen in the past where these small streams were there of water. We can see that proof in the rocks there as well.
Yeah.
So that's another sign of kind of looking for life.
Right. And also I believe that water has a very peculiar way of cutting through rocks is what I've also seen when I saw this documentary about Egypt. Like, how like soil eroded there over the years, or like pyramids have eroded over time. And now they are coming up that there was like water in the bottommost chambers that was circulating, and only water can create those kinds of erosion or something. It's not no other thing can create that kind of
that's correct
erosion.
Because naturally you'll find a lot of different kinds of liquids, but water is that sole liquid which has that property to be able to flow very easily, and that ability to flow very easily is needed for life. Because it can transport things from one point to the other very fast.
Right.
So
That's
a very special liquid. Water.
Yeah, that's how like life sustains also.
Life also uses water to sustain itself.
Yeah.
Water is needed for sustenance, And if you look at inside, like if you go down to the micro level, if you look at the cells, you'll find that cells also require water. If you remove water, the cell will dry up. The cell has
Yeah.
a wall. It's called a cell wall.
Yeah.
And that will over time break down.
Yeah.
So water is needed there as well to sustain the
Yeah.
the cells.
That's why I say hydrate.
Hydrate, always hydrate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. This is very interesting. Also, I must point out that you give very good analogies and examples. So I think it's going to really help the audience watching and
Hopefully.
simplify.
It's an uphill task, yeah. Like,
yeah.
Have had people ask me questions, and the limelight is on you to be able to capture the attention.
Oh my God,
Because
now I
hota kya
feel-
hai ki, like, in school, like we've
Yeah.
all been in school, and teachers have always said things and expected the student to. So
Yeah.
science communication, man, it's not easy.
It's like I'm put in the spot to ask the right questions, basically.
No, you can ask whatever. That's fine.
Yeah,
Anything
no,
is
I'm
fine.
just kidding. So, great. I think we have a fairly basic idea of how we look
Yeah.
for life. What are the signs we look for when we look for life? What have we discovered till now? What, like you said, there are different planets
Yes.
that we have only tried to look for signs of life on Mars, or we've
Yeah.
only reached the moon.
Yeah.
But like you said, there are so many other planets
Yes.
like in the dark that we don't know of.
Yes.
So what are some of those planets that we are focusing on to look for life?
Only in the last 10 years, we have found thousands of places in our universe. Thousands, like over 5,000 places, 5,000 planets in our universe, which have habitable conditions. So habitability is about where life can live.
Right.
And in our own solar system, the nearest neighbor, which is Mars for us, there is Jupiter and Saturn have these moons, icy moons. They're very small bodies that are also very promising, where life actually might exist. And the reason for that is that these are moons which have ice on the crust, but underneath that, there is a water ocean.
Oh, okay.
And just like we've got oceans on our planet, these are ocean worlds where life might have actually started completely independent of Earth. So these are, I would say, this is the second category of places. And outside our solar system, we have found other solar systems where planets exist, which have similar kind of conditions as well. And there are
Similar to Earth.
similar to Earth,
Huh.
similar to Mars, different sizes of planets.
Okay.
And each planet has its own characteristic. It has its own sun. So like the solar system, normally a solar system is defined by one central star, which is the sun.
Yeah.
And then around it, you have like a lot of different planets that orbit
Orbit.
at it. And the ones that are at a certain distance from that main sun are called what is called a Goldilocks zone. So
Okay.
that means that planet is not too hot or not too cold.
Okay.
It's in that temperate environment, just like Earth is.
Yeah.
So that allows conditions where life might have started.
Right.
So there is a mission called the James Webb Space Telescope.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
So
The James
that
Webb.
actually it's been a game changer. Like it has found thousands of planets just in the last few years.
Right.
Our knowledge, like in the early 90s when we were growing up, we hardly knew like 10 or 20.
Yeah.
But because we can now see further, it's almost like somebody has given you like the right glasses that now
Yeah.
you can suddenly see. So it's allowing us to find a lot of these kind of planets.
Right. It has also, I think, generated some pictures of how, like, the Big Bang also, I feel. Like,
Yes.
I think recently I saw about it on Instagram. Is that
Yes.
true?
As well, yes. So this telescope allows you to see really far. And space is kind of expanding, it's kind of growing. And anything that's further away from you is actually, and the light that has reached you from that place is actually from a very, very ancient time in this whole universe.
Yeah.
So it's allowing us, when Big Bang took place, it essentially is when the whole universe kind of started as
Yeah.
we know it. So it's allowing us to see that. So this
Yeah.
telescope is not just allowing us to find life like planets where life might have originated. It's also making us look into the past. It's making us look into understanding how our universe came to be.
Wow, that's so interesting. And so, what are some of the things that you are yourself working on in this space, in this area? And what are some of the discoveries that you have made or that you have, achieved or realized? And that's something that has changed your view also of how you looked at it before?
So there's a lot going on. I'm currently in Australia. I'm part of a lunar mission operations team. So our team has been looking at exploring the moon
Yeah.
and getting humans back to the moon. So much closer to Earth than all these faraway locations.
Yeah.
I have been part of some projects when I used to work at NASA that were a lot more in deep space. So I was part of a team that was designing a spacecraft that would fly to one of these icy moons that I mentioned. It's called Enceladus, and it is orbiting around Saturn. I was part of a team that was developing the technology that could detect life that might be in that planet, in that moon.
Right.
So that's, I guess, I haven't been part of a discovery yet, but I've been part of teams that will one day hopefully discover something.
Yeah.
And just last year, I also decided to become an entrepreneur. So I started up a company in Bangalore.
Protoplanet.
It's called Protoplanet.
Yeah.
And the idea is to train university people, train the space agency people, institutes. And what we have done is we've brought a group of experts together under the umbrella of the company. And what we do is capacity building. So
Yeah.
at the start, where we work with universities and teachers and students and train them. Because I think ISRO is accelerating its program.
Okay.
It's giving a lot of opportunities. And we want the country and the universities and people to be able to catch up and be able to contribute to it. So that's the kind of space where we are providing that training. And the other thing, what we do is we work in these environments on our planet, which are like other planets. So, for example, places like Ladakh, places like Ran of Kutch, they are actually very similar to Mars.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, I think previously there was this one girl who's a space architect from Ahmedabad, and she enlightened me on this that the soil of Kutch has a similar composition to the soil of Mars, which I didn't know. She's like,
Yeah.
we do a lot of research there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So our team has been since 2016 identifying these environments. We have been working in Ladakh for almost 9 years now. And Ladakh is similar to ancient Mars, not today's Mars, but ancient Mars.
Oh.
So it's almost like a time capsule. So it's allowing us to look at what Mars might have been like. And it has all these extreme environments because it's a high altitude. The UV radiation is also very strong. So it helps us understand how, it helps us train the scientists to make these instruments that I just spoke about, right? That help us look for life. So we can train and test those in that environment. So that's kind of everything that I've been involved with.
Yeah, it's very easy for you to say, yeah, that's it. That's all I do. I mean, I just
trying to
shoot a
summarize
podcast. I would just say, you just look for life on other planets. Those are not like,
But it's not just me. So I'm using a lot of I in this, but it's like a whole team that's part of it.
Yeah, definitely. But at least you're involved in it, and So, say for example, if somebody wants to get involved in it, how can they get involved in it? And like we were talking about this off camera. Also, you were talking about Protoplanet, your venture,
Yeah.
and you were saying that an average person who's interested can also like explore, like just like that, just to explore, not choose it as a career.
Yes.
How does that work? How does that happen?
Absolutely. I'll answer that. So we want to make space accessible to everyone. I think if people don't relate to it, space will not get the right support that it needs. And the support is important because that influences the government to approve more projects and more missions.
Right.
So it's important for the scientific community to take the public along. That's the motivation here. Students in different disciplines, whether it is in science, engineering, design, architecture, arts, they all have a role to play.
Okay.
So the activities that we conduct, we actually take students with us. So whether it's to these environments.
Okay.
And we attach them to like an expert. So that becomes that person becomes their mentor.
Okay.
And then they get trained, they get like both hands-on experience, in the field. And because this is such an interdisciplinary field, I think the most important thing for students to learn is how to work with people from other disciplines.
Right.
And this has to start at a young age. Because what happens is that when you remain in your field and you get into your work, you are not comfortable with people from other fields.
Yeah.
So you don't communicate with them. And that creates these silos. And that's unfortunately the situation right now in India and a lot of other parts, not just in India. So we want to make students, like if there's a commerce student, if he's in an expedition with an art student or a science student, they should not feel, because till the age of 10th standard, these disciplines are not made, right? So everybody is each other's friend.
Yeah.
But as soon as people go into like, their college or
own
junior
fields
college,
and everything.
they all become like, oh,
I'm this now.
I'm this.
They attach their identity that I'm
that.
only this.
Yes.
They become confined to that.
So in their personal life, they might have a lot of friends,
Right.
but they are never able to relate professionally with somebody
True.
else. So we want to make people comfortable with that, and we attach students to those kind of environments and then provide them the training to then further develop themselves.
Right.
For people who are not students, we also do experiential travel. So if somebody wants to, for example, go to Rann of Kutch or go to Ladakh or Lonar Crater, there are a lot of other locations, and they want to
What crater?
Lonar Crater.
Where is that?
That's in Maharashtra.
Okay.
So that's, and I'll talk about that
Yeah.
later as well. If you want to go on a holiday, but you don't just want to take photos and come back, you actually want to learn what happened here. Why is this lake green in color? Why is it pink in color? Sometimes people see pink lakes. Even in Kutch, I've seen like small ponds that form that are actually pink in color.
Really?
Yeah.
I need to explore my area.
Yeah. So it's because of the certain bacteria
Yeah.
that blooms and creates a pigment, and that's why it's and it does it because it's in a very salty environment. That's why it's pink
Yeah.
in color. In fact, where I live in Western Australia, there are these bright pink lakes, almost like, I don't know if you remember Digene, that medicine. It's that pink, like the fluorescent pinkish
Yeah,
color.
yeah.
And natural. There's no chemical, like there's no artificial chemical in it. It's just there.
But it's just the bacteria and the microbes that live in
grow
that.
in it. And then they release a pigment that causes it to be pink in color.
Got it.
Because they need energy to survive. So they do that to be able to capture the sunlight.
Yeah.
And to also be able to overcome the very salty. These lakes are normally very salty, very high in salt. Hypersaline, we call them. So these kind of questions, right? If somebody is on a holiday and then they just come across something that they're interested in, they want to know what that is all about. So you have these extremely interesting environments, and they're curious people. So if people are very curious about it, we've made these tours, which are like experiential tours, where you have a scientist who's leading people in and giving them that sense of what the environment is. And in that, people also have small projects. So if somebody wants to be able to conserve that place, because conservation is something that we are also very,
keen about. Yeah.
And when we do space exploration, it's also about conserving wherever we are going, and making sure that we don't lose the value of that place. So we hold that very close to ourselves. So we have like small conservation projects as well, where people can, actually contribute to it. They can measure, like do some small measurements, and just kind of contribute to the
themselves
exploration.
Can do it, learn
they
it and
themselves
do it.
Can do it.
Wow,
yeah.
That's so cool.
And then they leave behind, like, you can plant something or do something small that they can take away as,
a souvenir.
Or actually not, we don't actually want to have people take away too many rocks samples because it also degrades the place.
I think,
But
that
something
should not
that we can
be
give
allowed,
back.
I feel.
Yes. So we give them like a token of, you contributed to this mission, you were part of a mission, you've contributed to it.
Yeah.
And you now can say that you're actually part of space exploration.
Wow.
So those kind of things. So I think at the end of the day, it's about giving people a chance to feel responsible about it. And that allows people to come out.
That is so cool, because I remember I used to be very curious about space, and now seeing that at our, when we were in school, we didn't have that opportunity that you're talking about. But right now, like somebody watching, parents watching or kids watching, like them, having exposure to an opportunity like that is huge. It's such a big deal.
Yeah. And I've had so opportunities did not exist. YouTube did not exist.
Yeah.
At least back when I was in school. And at the conference that I just mentioned, I met a 10th standard student who's been doing astrobiology fieldwork in India for the last 3 years, which means he started when he was in 7th standard.
Oh.
So he's obviously like a complete outlier. Not everybody is like that. But all to see that that's possible today. You can actually get into this field pretty early in your life. The part that I also wanted to mention was that when I started off, it wasn't astrobiology. I didn't even know what astrobiology was, just to be clear. So all I was seeing was fast flying jets and rockets. And I was seeing astronauts on the space station. And for me, that was
like everyone,
great.
like all of us.
Yeah. And for me, it was also about the fact that these guys are not representing only their country. Like their humanity kind of, it's not just about India or any other country going. It's humanity going into space.
Yeah.
So for me, that calling was much higher than just a country. And slowly and steadily, as I got into my career, I was a summer intern initially at NASA. And that's where I came across this field, where I saw that there are all these people who are actually devoting their whole careers building a mission that will fly maybe after they've retired from their jobs.
Yeah.
So they're so passionately working for 20, 30 years that one day this mission is going to fly because they don't care about their own personal careers.
Yeah.
It's about they've contributed to something that as humanity we are learning.
Yeah.
So that's that kind of, mind shifting kind of a moment where you kind of start thinking
that
about
you
it.
contribute to a larger picture.
Yes.
Rather than just like, how everybody is like, oh, I'll work, I'll make money and travel.
Yeah. And space again, like, unfortunately, it's kind of treated like a joyride. Like, okay, you go into space and, you get the experience of weightlessness and you observe Earth and then you come back, which is obviously a very great opportunity.
It is romanticized like that,
It's
basically.
romanticized like that.
Yeah.
But, the more I was in this field, I realized that it has to be something much more than that.
Yeah.
Just getting that one experience and coming back and then being like, okay, I'm done. I've achieved everything I needed to is not going to cut it.
Yeah.
So what are those larger goals that you kind of have to keep working towards?
Yeah.
So those kind of things you learn as you kind of in it. As a teenager, you don't want to think about this so much. Even though people are thinking, but yeah.
Yeah. Even like, I think kids right now are very
like
sorted.
On a different
I feel
plane altogether.
a sense of like, I don't feel insecure as a
Yeah.
person in general, but when I see today's kids, I'm like, you are like way too confident. Like,
I think my intelligence is I'm till age of 11, like age to 12. Like today's 12-year-old is where I stop. Uske baad, like the kind of questions that I start getting from people, I'm like, okay, this is beyond me.
Yeah, this is crazy. Yeah. So I have 2 questions here. First, you spoke a lot about NASA. You said you were doing a summer internship. I would love for you to like talk more about that. What was the internship about? Also, NASA is very aspirational, right?
Yep.
So what is it like working there and somebody who's like preparing for it or like aiming for it?
Yep.
Can you talk about what they can be prepared about, what they can expect?
Yeah.
Because I read this book by, I think, who was it? Peter Thiel, maybe. He wrote 0 to 1. And he said that, anytime you have an aspirational for a career, you should try to get an internship or learn from people who've actually been there.
Yeah.
So I think if you can shed a light on
Sure.
that would be great.
So I have spent 2 stints at NASA,
Okay.
10 years apart, at 2 different centers. So the first one was I was studying in Europe as a master's student, and I got an opportunity to go as a summer intern to Ames Research Center. That's a center in the valley, in the Silicon Valley, so in the Bay Area.
Okay.
And I was, as an engineer, working in a biology department. So that also was very new for me.
Yeah.
So I was the only engineer surrounded by biology professors, very smart professors. I think I had not taken biology after 10th standard. So my understanding of biology was just 10th standard level.
Right.
And then here I was with people who were 20, 30 years of experience in biology. And I'm like, I'm just an engineering student. What am I doing here?
And it's them who choose and put you in that environment?
Yes. So it happened.
that's-
There was a scientist from NASA who had come to give a talk at my university. I was studying in the Netherlands.
Okay.
And I approached him after the talk and we just kind of started talking. And he's
Yeah.
like, okay, here's my contact. Just send me an email.
Yeah.
And then we kind of stayed in touch. And it took about 4-5 months, but eventually it kind of, it was very organic, but I think also very good opportune. Like it happened at the right time. There wasn't like in India, normally, you have entrance exams and all of that.
Yeah.
There was no structured way in which it took place. Like he met me, he liked my profile, he liked my interest, and then he just kind of took me in.
Yeah.
So there is no, to your question, there is no, for Indian nationals to work at NASA, there is no fixed internship program that is offered.
Okay.
By NASA. Most of the students who are studying abroad, Indian students who are studying in Europe or in US, they tend to contact the professors or scientists working at NASA and then directly work with them. Like they meet them at conferences and apply
And
for
they
it.
respond, these professors and
No,
these...
they don't.
So you just
So
have to keep on...
You need to send 20 to maybe get like 1.
Okay.
But also it's again, it's important to ensure that you're not writing an essay in your email. Email should not be more than 5 lines.
A few lines.
And you don't have to send your resume unless they ask for it.
Yeah.
And the question should be very, you should have done a little bit of research before you write to that person.
Yeah. Your point should be clear.
Very clear.
Put across very clearly.
Yeah. Like I get emails pretty regularly from students.
Yeah.
And they just ask me a question, what is the scope of astrobiology? And I'm like, you can Google that. If you have a very specific question, I'm happy to answer you. But you have to understand that most of these scientists, they probably get 300 to 400 emails per day per day because they're working so many
Asking
different
what
projects.
is the scope of this thing?
No, just general emails. They're
Yeah.
just getting so many emails, right?
Yeah.
You're expecting your email to be caught in between like 300 emails in your inbox.
Yeah.
Firstly, it's hard for them to find it. And
Yeah.
secondly, even if they find it, the question has to be something that they can respond within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You don't have that kind of time
Yeah.
to sit and respond. So there's all these things that I think Indian students, now I'm seeing that they're getting better at it. I think they're learning also that it's about sending the right kind of an email, being confident, approaching people during the conference, and then kind of getting a sense of it. So I had to not fortunately do a lot of that. I was able to get that and just be persistent, like kind of keep at it.
And also know your why, maybe. Like if somebody asked me, like, what is the scope of podcasting? I was like, what do you mean?
Exactly,
like you're
right?
not like deeply
if somebody-
interested in it.
Exactly, the same thing.
So then there's no point in like you
Yeah.
to respond to them and
Yeah.
like, and then if you're asking somebody else, it means you're asking somebody else to give you a why to,
Yes.
to enter into a field.
Yeah.
When nobody else can give you a why to,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
pursue after something. It has to come from within.
Within, yeah, that's true.
So
people ask like, they can ask you like A or B versus like they'll ask, I've got two opportunities, whether it's A or B, can you help me? So then I'm like, okay. And that also you need to know more about that person. You're not like personally knowing that person. So how can I advise?
yeah.
So it is hard, but I try to be as complete as possible, like cover as many emails as possible. And I can only imagine that people who are more senior and busier. So I was there at this NASA center and the only engineer. And because I was the only engineer, they treated me as the smartest person in the room.
Wow.
Because they're asking me all these questions like, okay, we need to build this box and we need to send this box to the space station and we're going to fill this box up with flies,
Interesting.
with fruit flies. And we'll have a camera inside it and we want to observe how those flies are flying around inside that box, which is on the International Space Station. So International Space Station has astronauts, so there's oxygen, there's
Yeah.
like temperature and all of that. The only thing that's not there is gravity. So the flies have to fly around inside this box and they need to capture it. And I'll get to why they do that.
Yeah,
But
this is very interesting. to
So
me.
so they asked me that question in a meeting room, and this is like a very senior NASA scientist sitting, his boss, and then a room full of his science members. And I'm the only engineer intern sitting
Yeah.
there, and they're
Yeah.
asking me questions.
And you're put in the spot.
And I'm put in the spot, but
Yeah.
in a good way. Like they're not like
in an encouraging. I
in
mean,
an encouraging
somebody
way.
senior, if they are asking you a question and trying to understand from your perspective,
Yeah.
that's a very commendable thing.
Yeah.
that,
So the first thing I learned there was modesty. Like
yeah,
it doesn't matter that I'm an intern. I just happen to know more about engineering than them. Maybe not. Maybe they already knew and they were just getting a third opinion.
yeah,
But I think that was an interesting situation for me.
Got
So I
it.
worked in that lab for about a year and a half. And these scientists, what they're doing is they're trying to understand the health of astronauts. Eventually, they want to understand the health of astronauts
Yeah.
and the effect of space environment on the body of the astronauts.
yeah,
Now, to do the study, you need to be able to do like a large number of subjects to be able to study, right? So you can't fly 100 people to space. Like nowadays, when you do any medicine that you prepare on our planet, on Earth,
Yeah, yeah.
you have to do the test on, say, 100 people.
Yeah.
And then you'll get statistical data from which you can work out, okay, it was effective in,
clinical
60
trials.
people, clinical trials.
Yeah,
So you normally start with insects. You start with invertebrates, and then you move into like rodents, and eventually you get into humans. For scientists, fruit flies. So fruit flies are those flies you might have seen whenever any fruit is rotting, like bananas and all. Normally you'll find these very small flies flying over it.
Acha, those small
Very
flies.
small ones.
Oh, I
They're
thought the
called-
normal those flies that we see.
No.
Not
So
those.
not those. So these are the small
okay.
flies. They're
Okay.
called fruit flies.
Okay.
And they're very common by scientists, used very commonly by scientists
Okay.
to do like research.
Oh,
So for different things.
yeah.
So in this case, they were sending those flies up and they were trying to see whether the flies, when you put this fly into space, or rather inside this space
Box.
station box, is it going to fly or is it going to sit down? Because if it's flying around, it means that this fly is okay,
Comfortable. Yeah.
But if it's just sitting in one place and not flying, it means it's stressed. So this camera is capturing the flies
Movement.
moving around. Yeah. That's all I did. And all I was doing as an engineer was building the box for that and ensuring that the flies don't die. Because trust me, flies don't like to be put in a box. You put any fly in a
Of
box,
course, yeah.
it'll just die after a while.
Yeah.
And so the whole challenge was how do we keep the flies alive for 1 week? without them dying. And then you put food inside for them. So there's food also, like small sugar kind of
that they can
blocks that
feed
they can
on.
keep feeding on. They also poop inside it. So there's fly poop everywhere.
Yeah.
So there's all these kind of, now as an engineer, I've never had to deal with these kind of problems.
Yeah.
Ki kya hai ye fly ka and all that.
Yeah.
But then you learn ki like if you're trying to study how life might survive in space, these are the challenge you need to work with. That was my first project at
Wow.
NASA.
And it also shows like it all comes with a package, right? You can't pick and choose. Ki
Yes.
main to yahi karunga.
Exactly.
To do that, to do your job also, even if you're an engineer, you need to know the other aspect of the field.
Correct.
For you to do it well.
Yes.
Right?
And while I was there, that happens to be a center of NASA. So NASA has some 10 different centers. That was a center where high-speed flight was almost invented.
Okay.
So all the supersonic is rockets and your aircraft that you have, fighter aircraft. The science behind it was actually discovered at that center.
Basically, I'm very curious. What did come out of that study? Did the flies show any
Flies don't like
particular-
space. Flies don't like space.
They don't.
No.
So what is the observation that you guys saw?
We saw
in the behavior?
We saw a lot of stress that was building up in the flies.
Okay.
And because they are not being told that they're going to space. So imagine if you were not being told and suddenly you're put in this environment. So obviously stress is going to build up, right?
Yeah.
So there was those kind of learnings from that experiment.
Right.
And the use case of that is that you can then give the flies some medicines and you can make them be able to adapt better to that kind of stressful environment.
Wow. Imagine like a tiny knife and you give it a medicine. Like, wow, this is so mind-blowing.
There were people there who could dissect the brain
Of a fly?
Of a fruit fly, not even a regular fly.
Yeah, like of a
fly.
fruit. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
So that's and there were people who study the heart muscles of these fruit flies. And I'm like, I felt so useless at that point as an engineer.
I feel useless doing this podcast. And I
So-
think of like, I did pharmacy and I think of those times when I did like, so we used to have these rat intestines and we used to like check the efficacy of a drug or a
Yeah.
medication
Yeah.
on these. We used to inject different doses on these rat intestines and used to observe like there was a certain parameter and there was an instrument on which we used to observe it.
Yeah.
I feel so insignificant because I used to think I've done that in my science labs and all, but this is crazy.
But after a point, you should it's, the other thing is it's also enabled by technology, right?
Yeah,
so there's a lot of sophisticated instruments that people can train on and be able to do that.
True. But the fact that people go there, to those lengths is
Yes.
commendable.
Yeah.
And we owe so much to these people who research so much about things because you never know what ends up being useful to us as a humanity.
We know very little about how space affects us.
Yeah.
Like, how does it affect pregnancy?
Oh.
How does it affect the formation of a embryo and a actual human being formed? Because we have all evolved to live on our planet,
Yeah.
and which is in 1G, right? So
Yeah, the gravitational
force.
Yeah.
So we've all evolved in this environment. As soon as you put us outside this environment, our body starts failing.
Yeah.
Muscles start getting weaker, our bones start getting weaker, eyes start getting affected. The blood normally moves up because there's no gravity. So all the blood actually moves up into your upper body.
And gives pressure on the heart
on the
muscles.
heart. So therefore people study the heart a lot over time.
Right.
And there's radiation outside that also affects you. So
Makes sense.
honestly, there's so many different things that if we are ever to go into space, we have to have a proper understanding on. So that is the reason why people do this.
We've talked about NASA and you've also worked with ISRO. Let's talk. Yeah, but you are like about to be or like you.
So we work with ISRO.
Yeah, with
There's a difference.
ISRO.
So I've never
Yeah.
worked in ISRO.
Yeah.
Yes. So the Indian Space Research Organization has been doing tremendously well over the last, right from the start. But very recently, they've had some great missions.
Achievements. Yeah.
There's been the Chandrayaan mission where they were able to land on the surface of the moon.
And that too on a different pole, right?
On
North
the southern
pole
pole,
or the
near the
south pole? South pole,
So they were able to land near the South Pole.
Yeah.
And they are now planning to send some very exciting missions to Mars, to Venus, and all of these different kind of environments.
Yeah.
So what we are doing right now is we are working with some teams inside ISRO and working on some very specific problems. So whether it is to help them develop their exploration plan, whether it is to help them understand what kind of testing they need to do here on Earth before they go there, whether it's in Ladakh or whether it's in their own campus, for example. So we are working with them in that regard.
Right. And how do you see, like you said, that India has already progressed a lot in terms of space research and exploration, and it was always, I think, doing well, because we had a president who worked on rocket science and everything.
Yeah.
So, but how do you see, like you said, we have all these missions planned and everything.
Yes.
What are we trying to accomplish in these missions? If you can shed a light on that a little bit.
Yeah. So there's two kinds of missions. There's the Gaganyaan mission, which is about humans. So the plan to take Indians into space.
Oh.
So there's 4 astronauts who were selected recently from the Air Force, and they represent like us, like Rakesh Sharma.
Like civilians.
No, these are astronauts. These are Air Force pilots.
Air Force pilots, okay.
So normally you always start with pilots, fighter pilots who are test pilots, who have a lot of flying experience.
Right.
And then eventually you also get civilians who are able to join in as well.
Right.
So one is preparing Indians to be able to go into space. The other is missions to Venus and Mars and some of these places with different goals, like mainly to understand those planets, look for life, signs of life on those in these kind of conditions as well. So it's a very broad roadmap that ISRO has made for its upcoming missions.
Nice, interesting. And so what is something that you feel like, when you look at all these projects and missions, what are you hoping as a, personally, like to find out, or, if you can talk about that a little bit?
I think, so I have been a personal admirer of Vikram Sarabhai.
Okay.
Like he's someone who started our space program in a very difficult time. India had just come out of the war with China, and we were not as rich and prosperous of a country that we are today.
Yeah.
To be able to justify starting a space program in the 60s, early 60s was tremendous. So one was the ability to actually build a space program in such an early start. India was one of the earliest to start a space program.
Yeah.
And also we did not start it for military reasons. We actually started for peaceful reasons.
Okay.
For the betterment of the society. Most of the other countries that got into space was for military and strategic reasons, to be able to defend the country. So like NASA was formed to counter Russia.
Okay.
To counter the Soviet Unions, because the Soviets were the first to send something into space. So the reason I've gone back into history is to say
I
that...
love that. You can,
So the reason is Vikram Sarabhai was able to build an ecosystem. He was able to understand what India needs. Whether it is in terms of weather forecast, to be able to forecast the weather for farmers, whether it is for reaching out to remote communities in the country for doing education. So he was able to, in his mind, architect all of these things. And then based on that, build out the requirements of why we're going into space.
Right.
That's something that I'm personally very passionate about. I feel that if you're going to the moon, and if you're doing all these interesting things, and we're also doing things here on Earth, it has to be something that the whole country backs and it's part of. Like, how is it relevant? How is it adding value to it?
Interesting.
So that's a space that I'm personally interested in, which is the ecosystem development. Like, how is space helping? It is already helping us.
Yeah.
Like, we've got internet because of space.
Yeah.
We've got medicine because of, like, all the medical technology has been tested in space. There's all of these learnings that we have, but people still don't know how much they can gain from it.
Yeah, the relevance of it, basically.
The relevance of it.
Yeah.
It helps us understand our place on our planet. And that's we all talk about why we're here. What's the purpose of our existence? Where did we come from?
Yeah.
So when you look at space, you are able to understand and answer some of those questions. And that's something which I think is culturally, as Indians, has been part of our ethos, but somewhere it was lost.
Yeah.
Somewhere we were not able to, talk about these things.
Yeah.
And it's affecting us in many ways.
Yeah.
People are not able to find their meaning. They're all only looking at short-term kind of goals and losing out on a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I think that's a space that I'm now very interested about. Like, how can we use space to make it interesting and more, relevant for people?
Yeah. I think once the spirituality angle ties up with space, for Indians particularly, there will be a lot of mainstream attention to it than it is right now.
That's right.
Right? That's what you mean?
In some ways, it's a fine line, because we take the responsibility to also say that scientific method should not be affected by belief systems.
Yeah.
Whether that's spiritual or any other. So as long as, you're approaching the problem with logic,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah, agreed. Also, I think one of the topics that also is very fascinating for the audience, thanks to our great Elon Musk,
Yep.
is colonizing a different planet and becoming multi-planetary species.
Yeah.
What is your point of view on that?
Hmm.
Do you think we can ever colonize a different planet and go live there and everything? Also, because I read that some of the habitable planets might be billions of light years away.
Yeah.
And then I got into this rabbit hole of black holes and wormholes.
Yeah.
You know, that we can bend knowing and understanding that it can only be a linear journey and, you know, billions of years away.
Yeah.
Whereas how it was shown in the movie Interstellar also, like
Yeah.
if you like go near a black hole enough, the gravity like pushes you and all of that
Yes.
stuff. It gets too technical.
Yeah.
But do you feel like that will be a possibility in the future? It will happen. We
Yes.
will be multi-planetary species. Do you think that?
I think it's important to put the right word out.
Okay.
You see a lot of like people, it's important to excite the public, but you also have to give them a context.
Right.
Like the person, you mentioned your friend who's asking you that if I had to just ask you to go to space, would you go? Would you
Yeah.
not go, right?
Yeah.
So you will say yes. But maybe if you have to convince 10 people in the room, you will not be able to convince because they don't have a reason to do that.
Yeah.
For some, it's cool and there'll always be those few who are wanting to go out there,
Yeah.
right? But
yeah.
let's think a little bit more about this. There's places on our own planet where if you want, we can go and live, but nobody goes and lives there.
Yeah. The Arctic, I think.
The Arctic,
Yeah.
Sahara Desert, middle of Australia, there's all these very remote, dry places,
Yeah.
right? So if nobody is going there, why would they want to go to these far off places, right?
True.
So the point is that you have to understand the first group of explorers, like you have research stations in Antarctica. There's base stations
Yeah.
where you have a team of scientists who live there, 50 scientists, 100 scientists who live there, and they do research in that environment.
Yeah.
These would be the first people who would naturally want to go there because
Right.
their professions are involved and they're
And
interested
they're
to stay
used
there.
to living in an extreme environment.
And they're used to living in that extreme environment, right? As humans, most of us psychologically, if we are not so interested in, interest is one thing, but interest will only take you so far.
Yeah.
You know, you could be really interested in deserts, but if you're there in the desert for like a month, a year,
Yeah.
5 years, you don't have any other reason to be there. You know, as humans, you have emotional needs. We'll not want to be there anymore.
Yeah.
So it's not right to expect thousands of people to just leave everything and want to move there.
True.
So we have the the opportunity to be able to tell to people that here is why you'd want to live there. Here is why you're actually helping humanity and be a part of going there. It's very hard to keep one human alive in space. The moment you start talking about taking 100 humans and putting them in that environment, imagine the amount of waste that gets created, right? So what's your waste management system? Where is the food going to come from? There is going to be a population that will want to, reproduce and have kids. Where are the hospitals? Where is the treatment going to happen, right?
Where's the infrastructure?
Where's the infrastructure? So today, if you plan an expedition where 4 people are there or 5 people are there, that itself becomes so difficult to plan. Now imagine taking 100 people there, right? And they have to be completely independent of Earth. They have to live completely independent. So these are real problems.
Yeah.
And eventually we have to solve them.
Yeah.
So for somebody to come and announce that, yes, you have to take 1,000 people to Mars. And then you're going around making people sign like recently, until a few years ago, there was a company that was offering one-way trips to Mars. Do you remember that?
I've even to the moon. I think when I was in school,
Yeah.
people were going for like just a casual trip. Like they just
No, trip
take
is
you-
different. This
They
was a
ju-
one-way trip. You're not coming back.
What?
And yes, and this happened a few years ago. There was a company, they actually were offering, it was I think called Mars Direct.
Oh.
And people signed up for it. And there were thousands, tens of thousands of people who signed up for it for a one-way
they're
trip.
so fed up with
You're not
their
coming
life,
back.
maybe.
Yeah. But where is that company today? Right? It doesn't exist. Nobody has heard of it.
And nobody went.
And nobody went. So point is this, that you can like have this conversation and then
Yeah.
make people excited about it, but afterward they'll be like, "Haan, theek hai, chodo, let's get to something else." This is the problem.
Be realistic, like
So this is the problem. Like it becomes, when you say be realistic, it becomes far from reality. And that is the thing that we're trying to solve right now.
right.
What does it mean to take a few people into space? Because practically वही होएगा. It's about 10 people who will go or 15
Yeah.
people who will go.
And then they will reproduce and then
they will,
Yeah.
take the thing forward.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the approach. That's kind of the approach towards
Yeah.
what we're trying to take towards.
Right,
So it's not about just taking 1,000 people there. It's about doing it sustainably.
Yeah.
Taking
makes
it in a
sense.
small way.
Makes sense. Now we talked about like us going to space.
Yes.
What is your view on, like for the lack of a better word, or like people would know, aliens coming to Earth and
Coming to
living
Earth.
here?
Yep.
Or, extraterrestrials that, first of all, do you believe they exist? Do you believe alien exists? Do you have a certain point of view about that? And also, what do you think if...
So as scientists, we use the word believe very carefully, because belief is something that gets formed after a lot of proofs and a lot of validation and a lot of, so for us, it's more about can they exist or not.
Got it. Yeah.
There's enough evidence to say that they can exist, because we've seen there are so many planets. There are so many ways in which life survives. So how is it that only on this planet, in this corner of the universe, it started and nowhere else it started, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy to think like that. So there's a huge chance that it might have started elsewhere, and those people are now, or those organisms are defined as aliens per se. That's my long answer to you on what I think.
I mean, I get it. I agree with it that it's completely plausible that they can exist and everything.
Yeah.
But again, to take it one step further, like, do you think there's ever going to be a because I don't know if you've seen this. I saw this documentary. I geek out on this stuff a lot. I saw this documentary called Moment of Contact.
Okay.
I don't know if have you heard of it?
No.
So it's this documentary where I think in the 80s or somewhere in Brazil, in this town in Brazil, actually a UFO landed. And not just one, there were 2, 3. One of it crashed. And a lot of people saw it with their eyes. And there was this pair of 3 sisters. There was this, not pair, but there were these 3 sisters. And next to their house was an open plot or something, which had like a few shrubs and trees, and like not very big trees, but like that. And one of the alien was hiding there.
Okay.
And they described it, like how it looked. It was very acidic. It had very slimy body and very like big eyes and everything. And even in Brazil, in this town, they believe, because people have seen it, these sisters, they've also been featured on the documentary. And so for anybody who wants to see, it's called Moment of Contact. But like, so they've seen it. And then there is also a structure of a UFO that they saw in the square that's been built. And it's also said that one of the... So when they encountered this thing, like everyone got alert, right? Like the government, the military and all of that. And when the one that crashed on that site, the military went, and one of the person had touched it like without any gloves or anything on. And that person died, like because... And they also described that their smell was very acidic.
Right.
Strongly acidic, like a concentrated acid kind of a smell. And some of them have seen it. So they believe it to be true.
Right.
Now, we also in sci-fi movies, we see a lot of, these things where aliens are not portrayed as somebody who are going to be like cordial beings that we can coexist with.
Yeah.
Right? So what is your point of view on that? Like, how do you look at that whole thing being like, now that you said that it's plausible that life can exist.
Yes.
How intelligent, unintelligent do you think that life could exist? Possibly. How it might affect us?
So far, like, there's been a lot of observations, and people have seen, there have been sightings rather. People have done a lot of sightings.
Yeah.
And they've reported them as well.
Yeah.
Most of those information has been taken in and then studied as well. But unfortunately, science works in a very boring way. You need to be able to show something at least a few times, like 3 or 4 times. And for anything to be true, you have to be able to prove it.
Right.
Like if this cup has something in it, coffee or tea or water, to be able to determine what it is, there are some tests that have to be done. Right. One is by looking at it, the other is by flowing it. So science works like that. What have the observations been? Who has seen it? What has not happened? So far, unfortunately, nothing has gone beyond sightings. Nothing has been confirmed, and no specimens or actual physical proof has been taken by a scientific organization that has then credibly proved about it. That's one of the reasons why it's still not confirmed that any of that is true.
Yeah.
Now, sightings keep happening, and we cannot say that people are hysterical. We cannot just blame them about it.
Yeah.
They might have observed something which they have not identified. They're not able to understand what it is. But what gives them the knowledge to make that jump that it has come from space? What tells them that has come from space? It could be an organism that already lives on our planet that we're only now kind of understanding. And without seeing it, it's hard for us to prove anything. So it's not possible. So that's what was the second part of your question?
Yeah, that like how intelligent, like
whether it be intelligent or not.
Yeah. How and how it will impact us, like
Yes.
how this life existing, if we ever came in contact with it, like how could it impact us?
Yes. So there's an organization called SETI, Search of Extraterrestrial Intelligence.
Okay.
That was put together, I think, in the 70s, if not the late 60s. I can't remember. But they're still active, and they have these dishes which are constantly looking for any signals from space that some organism or some kind of an advanced intelligence will contact us or send us something. Because when you're looking for signs, it's not about just visible optical wavelength, right?
Yeah.
It can come in radio waves also. It can come in different frequencies across the spectrum, across the electromagnetic spectrum. So they look at all those things like infrared, radio, all the way, right? And so far, we haven't been able to find anything. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist just because we haven't been able to find it. That's the first part of the answer. The second part is life could be anything. It could be a bacteria. It could be a chimpanzee. It could be a dolphin. It could be a spider. It could be an octopus. It could be a human. It could be something that's way more advanced than a human as well. It could be any of these things, right? We do not have any evidence to say that it is one or the other. One thing that we have seen is that if you take our own example, on our planet, you know which organism has lived for the most amount of time, or what kind of an organism? It's been a bacteria.
Yeah.
That's been the most common form of life.
Yeah.
Life like
Longest
us.
surviving.
So I think the analogy people make is that if you take the whole age of our planet, and you compress it into 1 year, like starting from 1st January till 31st of December, life came somewhere in March. So like Earth was formed, say, in 1st Jan.
I've seen this
seen
thing
that?
and it's confused me like crazy.
Really?
I've seen that, and not just like 1 year, but I saw like some 1 hour or something.
So I'm getting there.
Yeah.
So imagine like if you took 4.6 billion years, that is the actual length. Now you compress it into 1 year. Okay?
Yeah.
1 year is 12 months.
Yeah.
So you start on the 1st of January.
Yeah.
That is when the Earth started technically.
Yeah.
Okay? Now you've scaled everything down. 4.6 billion years is now in 12 months.
Yeah.
So life started on 1st of Earth was formed on the 1st of
1st of
January.
Jan.
Okay? I don't remember it exactly, but I think somewhere in March is when the first ancient form of life was found. So from January to March, there was no life.
So
Okay?
after how many years would that be in your language?
It was about 1 billion years, 1.5 billion years.
After that, life started.
Then life
existing.
started, what we have found.
Got it.
So in March.
Yeah.
From March until October, November, there was just bacteria.
Oh.
Okay? Dinosaurs came in November. And they went extinct in somewhere in December. Okay? Humans arrived on 31st December at 11:59 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay? So we have only existed for that last 1 second.
That
in that 1
tiny
year.
fraction of a second.
So for us, now if you look at other planets, right?
Yeah.
And if you're trying to look for life, just based on what we have understood, most of that life might have just been bacteria that we might have found. Because the amount of, and it's not just about time. Many things need to happen for life to go from bacteria to humans. And then maybe more things need to happen before we as humans will now evolve into superhumans or very advanced form of life, the kind that you kind of see as well. So to answer your question, just based on that observation, it seems like it is easier to find basic microorganisms. But unfortunately, we as humans, we want to get entertained, right? We want to see things.
Yeah.
So our mind immediately goes towards what films have given us.
Yeah.
So we are seeing that a lot of the observations, the sightings that people make are towards finding these green men or slimy creatures and all of that. So it's driven by a lot of the thought
Fantasy?
process and the fantasies that drive us towards that as well.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
Also, not just creatures, but there are a lot of extraterrestrial objects
Yes.
that enter the solar system.
Yep.
One of such object that has been observed and highly talked about is this object called. First it was classified as an asteroid, then it was classified as a comet, and
Yep.
then it was classified as a dark comet because
Yep.
nobody could figure out, like, it's very peculiar, and it's
Yep.
called Oumuamua. Like,
Yeah.
it's very weird. Why did they name it like that? But yeah. It came into our solar system in 2018.
Yeah.
It briefly passed us. We
Yeah.
caught it at the time when it was just passing by us. We couldn't figure out anything. We couldn't get much time to study it or anything.
Yep.
And now it's out.
Yeah.
Now it's
It's
left
left
the
the-
solar system. We might catch up if we send a mission. We might not.
Yep.
What do you think about that? Like those objects passing, through our solar system.
I think if it was an alien ship,
There was a talk of it that it's an alien
it
ship.
might be an alien ship.
Yeah.
If it is an alien, or if it was an alien ship, it clearly didn't think much of us because it just
left.
it just ignored us and
Like,
just
this
left.
is not
It's like, this is
interesting.
not interesting
Yeah.
enough. So which is kind of sad for us actually if that was the case.
Yeah.
There was a scientist who I think published a paper around this and he spoke a lot about it. So again, it's unfortunately not here anymore. It's not close enough to be
Yeah.
able to study it.
Yeah.
And there are explanations. There are some explanations in terms of what it was. It could have been an object that was formed when the solar system was kind of being formed. And solar system is full of moving objects. There's a lot of debris that move.
Solar system or the universe?
Even the universe.
Okay.
So the universe is made of these solar systems. Solar systems form a
different
cluster.
solar system, basically.
It could have been, yes, I think it came from outside the solar
it was
system.
an interterrestrial
Yes.
object. So, yeah.
So it could have been part of a solar system and
Interstellar. Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it could have been part of a solar system
Yeah.
and then eventually it drifted out of its own solar system and then traveled and then happened to just come in the path of our
Yeah.
own solar system and then just kind of went through it. It hasn't happened in our human age and therefore we consider it to be unique.
Yeah.
But remember what I said, we are just 1 second in that 1 year.
Yeah.
Imagine there might have been
All these years
20,000
where-
these kind of rocks that might have gone through it, right?
Yeah.
And because we've only seen one, we're considering it to be very special.
Got it.
The shape also was very spaceship looking. Like it
Yeah.
had this long, sleek kind of an object.
It was
looking.
a 1,000-meter object. It was not
Yeah.
very big
It wasn't
or
very big as
anything.
well.
And it was,
Yeah.
and again, like, it was very fascinating because it was not
Like spinning
It
or
was not
something.
spinning.
Yeah.
It was like tumbling.
Yeah.
Like that. So it
Yeah.
was very weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the thing because we don't, anything that's unnatural to us, we immediately think it's from space. We immediately think it's like aliens.
Aliens, yeah.
So that is a bias that has set into our own minds. And as humans, we've always had that bias. Back in the day when people would see lightning or they would see solar eclipse, they would then start thinking that, this is the gods are not happy and they're doing all of this. So we are not very different from them back then, So our understanding of these things is limited and
Yeah.
therefore our imagination starts running.
Right.
So this is just a product of that imagination. And here is how science works. You have to prove it
Yeah.
to be able to confirm it.
Yeah.
There's because everything around that is just observations. There's nothing
True,
else.
true. So picking up on, like you mentioned, that, in ancient people, when they used to see lightning,
Yeah.
they would correlate it with something mythological.
Yes.
And there is a lot of talk about connection between mythology and space also. People love to make that connection.
Yeah.
So what is your point of view on that? How much do you think it's true? Like, how much the connection between the two is valid, invalid,
Yes.
?
My personal take on it is that, people are always curious and there's nothing wrong with that. Back then, people were curious. Even today, people are curious. Nothing wrong in that. The fact that they're observing something natural is actually great because today, if you go around asking people, did you see the sky today? They'll be like, what sky?
Yeah.
I went from my cab to office and home and that's it.
Yeah.
Right? एक तो sky दिखता नहीं है.
हाँ,
Sky दिख
that's
जाए वो
also
बहुत बड़ी
true.
चीज है.
Yeah.
But natural observations कर रहे हैं वो मेरे लिए बहुत बड़ा win है.
Yeah.
As a thing. Now, how is that information being used? Okay? Is it being used in a way that is preventing people to logically think and put irrational fear in them? then I have a problem with it. Like if it is preventing people from, I don't know, educating themselves
Right.
or making certain decisions.
And they're just sticking to the mythological part of
And
it
they're only
and
sticking
believing
it.
that to be true.
Exactly.
Then that is a problem.
That for me, I think it's a problem.
Got it.
Because I think it's preventing people to think for themselves. Like
Right.
they're not questioning enough.
Right.
Anything that stops you from questioning, I think is not right.
Right.
Right. So it's curbing curiosity, which I think is one of the reasons why people don't explore what they want to do enough, and then they discover later on in life what they want to do because they're not asking those questions enough. And anytime a question comes up, it's being curbed. An answer is being spoon fed to them. Oh, it's because of this, and then like
Yeah.
okay, that I have a personal problem with.
Yeah.
Now coming back to mythology, right? Mythology is something that is very complicated, especially in our own country. It became intertwined with our learnings. So, for example, our ancient people were able to discover the size of our planet. They were able to work out that our planet is round, because in many communities, people actually believed, ancient people, that in fact, even today, you'll find that Earth is
Flat
flat.
earthers, see,
right?
yeah.
But our people knew that it is a round. It's a sphere.
Yeah.
They also were able to work out that we are all going around the sun. Whereas in Europe, it was believed for the longest time that Earth is at the center and the sun is going around it. It was believed for centuries.
Really?
Yes. It was believed for centuries. And then they
How
discovered
did we
it.
figure it out?
Because we were able to calculate.
We were good at maths.
We were good at maths.
Typical Indian.
We were very good at maths. And we were also very good at observations and making records.
Yeah.
So this is what is astronomy. Astronomy is about calculating कि February में sun कहाँ से निकलेगा और कहाँ set होएगा.
Okay.
That knowledge has come from calculations, mathematical trigonometry, geometry calculations.
Right, right.
Now, to start associating that with how it affects our life is the part where many civilizations went towards astrology. That is the difference. So that is one aspect of it.
Yeah.
Now you talk about religion and you talk about gods and everything else around it, right?
And you know, even our temples have these carvings of, people say that we used to have spacecrafts and everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not just our civilization. There are other old civilizations like in South America, like the Mayans. Even their temples have these structures where it looks like there's an astro, So far, whatever we understand, again, going back to how science works, we don't have, unfortunately, any proof that people back then were contacted by aliens or contacted by anything else. The only thing what we have are these vague kind of carvings in the rocks that tell us that, okay, something. And again, those could be something else. Like they look like aliens because we have decided what aliens look like, right? That could have been anything else. It could have been any other creative thing that they were wearing a traditional garb or a suit or whatever else. But people are like, no, that's an astronaut suit. That's a rocket. So just because people had imagination and then they made something out of it,
Right.
doesn't mean that they actually knew how to build those things as well.
Right.
So that is my personal take on it, where there is some truth. There's a lot of truth in terms of our knowledge. We knew a lot about materials. We knew a lot about astronomy and where the planets were, and we knew a lot about chemistry. We also knew a lot about medical treatments like medicines. But to make the leap and say that, oh, we had figured everything out. We knew how to build flying ships and we knew how to go to space. All of that was learned. That is something which I find a bit of a leap without any observations.
Got it. Like, so we could have a lot of knowledge about something, but saying that we actually executed on it and we actually built all of it is going a little too far.
And science is open. So science ka kya hai ki,
Again, prove it.
And as soon as you prove it, it accepts it. It changes. And it has happened. Like if there is something that is discovered and gets proved, we actually make that part of science.
Yeah.
Because that is just it's not a right or wrong ka contest. It's all about learning, and then that knowledge expands. The more you learn about it, the more you expand.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. With that, we've almost reached the end of our conversation, but we have a few segments that we do, one of which is a Curious Quick 5. So we'll move on to the Curious Quick 5 segment. I ask you like 5 questions and you can say what are, the things lately that you're curious about or something. So are you ready? These are going to be a little quicker
fast.
and everything. Yeah.
Okay.
So what's the one thing that you're curious about?
Life on Mars.
Okay. What's the one person that you're curious about, living or dead? It could be anyone.
Vikram Sarabhai, the person who architected the space program in our country.
Right. What's the one place you're curious to travel to?
Antarctica.
Okay. What's the one book or author you're curious about?
That's a good one. It's been a while since I've picked up something, but I'm actually reading William Dalrymple's latest book about ancient India. So
Okay.
that's probably something. Yeah.
What's the one technology that you're curious about? I know people say AI, but you
Yeah.
can also say a certain application that you are looking forward to or something.
Something that actually helps us immediately identify whether there is life there or not.
Okay. We missed talking about it, but do you see that technology developing?
It's already developing. I was part of a team that was developing it.
Okay.
But in Star Trek, there's an instrument that you find them walking around with, that they would land on a planet and then they would just like take out a sensor, and then immediately it will tell them all the information on that planet.
Wow.
In their hands.
Wow.
So that
And
does
you
not
think
exist.
that can happen?
That I think can happen. I think
Wow.
we are able to, like, our smartphones is something that evolved in like less than 20 years, 15
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
So I'm pretty sure we'll be able to get there very soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now we'll move on to this segment, which is called Curiosity Reversed. Before we end it, where I've started this new segment where a lot of people were like curious about me also.
Yes.
So I asked them questions during the conversation, but then a lot of people would off camera ask me also things. So
Yeah.
I started this segment where the guest also gets to ask me one question.
Only one.
Just one.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So and there's no pressure. If you don't want to ask,
And if the
it's
question's
fine.
already been asked on your podcast,
Sorry?
if the question has already been asked on your podcast before,
Then I'll
that's
tell
okay.
you. But I've shot like a few. Like it's just
It's
a
just a new
recent thing
thing?
that I've started.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you move from pharmacy to becoming a podcaster?
So I've briefly, I think, talked about it. It's very. I got an instinct about starting this actually.
Okay.
It was a very instinctive thing during COVID, and this name got stuck in my head. It would keep playing in my head. Like, I'm just curious. I'm just curious. Something inside. I know it's very hard for some people to believe.
Yeah.
But this name kept on like, I'm just curious. And at night I would hear it, and it was telling me, do this, do this. Like literally I could hear those words. And for 3 days I was like, yeah, theek hai, you know. And
Yeah.
also, actually, I wanted to, like you said, pharmacy se kyun? I was going to start like I was interested more in the supplement area and everything, but it was too crowded.
Yeah.
And I was like, and it sounds also a little gimmicky now, like, you know, and everything. And also, I wanted to come up with my own formulations and everything. But during COVID, you couldn't do that. You couldn't go to labs and test and everything. And simultaneously, this thing started coming to my mind.
Yeah.
And for 3 days, I ignored it, like straight up.
Yeah.
But every night, I remember very clearly, I would just switch off the light to go to sleep, and it would start. And I knew that now it's going to start. For 3 days, I constantly ignored it. After that, I woke up, like literally got up in the middle of the night, and I was like, stop, I'll do it. Like literally, I said that out loud.
Yeah.
And the next day, I was like, okay, I need to see where can I shoot the podcast. Who are the
Very
people
good
that
word.
I'm interested in? So I came up with a list of 6 people.
Yeah.
That's how I think I started. Like in 15 days,
Wow.
I figured out everything, and I shot 6
Yeah.
episodes.
Yeah.
And since then, I haven't looked back.
Nice. That's good.
That's how it started.
And I'm sure you're enjoying the
Yeah,
journey.
I am. It's my 4th season.
Nice.
So yeah,
That's
that's the story.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. With that, we've reached the end of our conversation. Any last thoughts that you would like to share? Any feelings about being on the podcast?
I think it's been a very kind of invoking experience.
Yeah.
The more questions you get asked, the more you think.
Yeah.
And it's a real big challenge that will take all of us. I think as a country, we need to understand the value of thinking for ourselves, and not just think about it in a superficial manner, but think a little
Right.
deeply. So it's something that doesn't get picked up very easily. And that's an area where we are trying to develop. And use space as an example. The questions that we ask about space are actually very similar to the questions we would like to ask us about our own planet. So like climate and all of those things, right?
Right.
So what would make us care about these things, and why is that important? It's a very interesting exercise. So I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you.
Great. Then my purpose is fulfilled, like, you know, if you enjoyed it. And I think
Yeah.
we had a great conversation. I really loved having you on the podcast. I really appreciated you giving us the time. And yeah, I can't wait to do this once again, where we were actually supposed to do it, which
We
is
will
in
need
Leh.
to go back to Ladakh.
So we can actually.
So maybe I can plug my expedition here if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Protoplanet, people should look it up. We have a website. There's a interest page that you can fill up. We have an upcoming expedition in July of this year. There's going to be more. It's not just about one expedition, but more experiences and opportunities. So this will take us to the next level. We are working closely with many organizations. So more information is going to be announced very soon. And I look forward to having you there as well, Shruti, and
Yeah,
talking
same here.
about it.
And anybody can apply, right? From
Anybody
any
can apply.
field.
Anybody
any
from
age
any
group, any
field.
field.
Absolutely.
Anything.
Anybody can fill up that form.
So thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
I hope people also enjoy watching this as much as we have enjoyed having this conversation.
Absolutely.
And can't wait to do this again with you sometime.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot for having
Thank you
me.
so much.
Thank you.